Hi, my name is Sandra and thank you so much for visiting my channel today. This is a recording from a Zoom class that I did this morning. Just finished the class, hence a little bit ruffled because I actually did a lot more in the class. I had advanced students in, so I was able to demonstrate a lot more and do the exercises a lot more than I normally would in a regular class, and that's why I'm going to put it up on YouTube so that you can experience a health bar workout. The most important thing when you do these workouts is that the main premise is that you never ever move through pain. So if there's anything doesn't feel right for your body, please stop straight away, especially if you feel anything that's sharp jolting or stabbing or anything just doesn't feel good. Please just stop and maybe just imagine yourself, watch the video, just imagine yourself doing the exercises. Never ever move through pain. Please take breathers when you need to. If you're new to this program, this type of exercise, what we do is we set ourselves up in a position. We lengthen our torso out. We're always extending from the center of the body out through to the periphery. And then we tone the muscle with a tiny little movement, which we call a pulse. Now the pulse is smooth, it's tiny, it's no more than half an inch, quarter of an inch, half an inch. And you pulse smoothly in with an intentional pulse to feel and focus where you feel the pulse working. So if you're working the back of the legs and the buttocks, you want to feel the pulse working into the back of the legs and the buttocks. So just bring all your attention into the part of the body that you're training. Take as many breathers as you need to. Don't worry if your pulse is bigger, if it's a little bit jerky, doesn't matter, that's normal. This is how everybody starts. So if you are new to this type of workout, then just don't worry, just experience it. Have a feel. How does it feel for you? The results come very, very quickly. So if you repeated this routine, rest if you feel too stiff and sore, of course, but if you repeated the exercises within a couple of days, and maybe you did 3 maybe in a week or maybe even 5 if you're up for it, then you should feel and look different in your body. And we work with the whole premise, and we start with lengthening the center of the body. So we want to make sure all these muscles are supple, because this is where we hold our tension. Abs, waist, part of the back, they respond to, or the whole back muscles, they respond to stress, and it's an involuntary, unconscious reflection, response. So, it just tightens everything up in the center, which means you have got less ability to get to the periphery, to get to the extremity. So this is why there's a lot of preparation beforehand, or not a lot, but there's a fair bit. Lengthening the center, lengthening the muscles in the back of the leg. That is to make sure the pelvis and spine is as neutral as possible. So we work and set ourselves up with a neutral pelvis, unless we're adding a curl. And when we do curl, the curl starts from the base of the behind. So yes, again, take breathers. Please message me if you have any questions at all, anything that doesn't feel right for you. Make sure you do feel safe and comfortable, that you're able to breathe. You want to challenge your body, but you definitely don't want to overwork it, and especially if you're new to this program. It is deceptive, because the less energy and effort you put into the exercises, the greater the benefit. So it can look really easy, but you want to just get a sense, use the power of your imagination, get a sense of how your body feels, where you feel the pulse working, and you will be rewarded with a long, lean, flexible, movable, bendable, twistable body for the rest of your life. I'm nearly 67. I've been doing these for 36 years. I've been teaching for 22 years. It is my life's passion. Now, things you might need to have: a yoga block or a book. We'll be using that. A half dome or a dome, or rolled up towel if you haven't got one, and a yoga strap, but you can use a scarf or anything. So have those handy, and I hope you enjoy the work. I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to book in a class, I'll put the link below to the calendar. And if you come in as a beginner, we have a chat beforehand, and I'll work with you hands-on, even though it's online. I will study your technique, give you tips to help you in your best position, which changes as you go along. I hope you enjoy. I'd love to hear from you. Take care, and I hope to see you next time.
sitting with rotation. So just first pause and take a deep breath. And I want you to think of breathing. When you breathe in, take a deep breath and let it just touch the pelvic floor, just lightly. Just get a sense of where the pelvic floor muscles are, because we use them in class, and it's got to get out. It's nice to have a sense of where it is. Don't tighten it, don't bear down, just take your breath all the way down there, just letting your lower abs just expand outwards. Notice where your weight is on your feet. Notice, of course, how you feel in your body, your soma. And then taking the feet out for that first beautiful yawn-like stretch. So we reach upwards, tightening one side, hiking up the hip, hiking up the heel, and then stretching into it. Remember, this works instantly, but only if it's a pandiculation. Of course, you both got little dog ears, and you want to notice how they do this. They stretch. Do one more, and immediately you've lengthened the center of the body. And then head to the dome for the dome stretches. Ball of the foot up and step forward. So we want to make sure that we always keep the front. In times gone past, we'd be more in a back extension, shoulders back. But because of our lifestyle now, we tend to be more forward in flexion. So, if anything, one of the most wonderful things you can do is walk outside and just look up to the sky and just allow those front muscles to open, because that helps with our breathing and everything. So hip over the heel, you're lifting up out of the pelvic floor. Rotate your legs outwards. Check that your kneecaps are relaxed. And just get a sense of the central axis of the spine, nice and straight. And then just gently bend the leg on the dome. And then step off and take the foot back. And of course, and then you roll. And of course, you can just do some ankle rolls if you have. That's it, Susie, if you have any ankle problems or foot problems, and then go to the other side. So we're pressing down, stepping forward. So don't forget, we have to be mindful of the fact that when we do these exercises regular, it's so easy to become habituated and so easy to sort of disconnect from the exercise. And that's because we're humans, and our sense of, our observation and our attention span is very, very short. So we have to keep gently coaxing our minds back into our bodies so we get the maximum result from the exercises. Kneecaps relax. So you got to watch that you're not keeping the knees lifted upwards. Rotate the thighs. You want to be able to freely move the kneecaps, so that's going to help keep the blood flowing and prevent inflammation. Shoulders relaxing down. Check that your chest relaxes, of course. Just allow your sternum to melt down, your upper sternum. Thigh rotated. Stepping off, take the foot back, roll on the foot. If it feels okay for you, just massaging the top of the foot. Double calf stretch. So the ball of the foot is right up as high as you can, up on the apex of the dome, and you soften your hips, doubling over, lifting your sit bones up. So feel the stretch up through the back of the legs. Outwardly rotate your legs. And whenever you add on an element, you want to, even a micro element, you want to notice the difference. So you make the comparison between doing and not doing, or adding something on to a movement or a stretch or anything. Rotate your legs outwards, and you can start moving the spine, getting it ready for the waist stretch. And then bend the legs, walking your hands up, ready for the up and down. So in your primary position, oops, sorry guys, just have to check. Lining your feet right underneath your pelvic bone, outer edges straight, reach the arms up to the ceiling, reaching up forwards, arms sweep to the front and then out to the side. Using your hamstrings and your buttocks to lift you up. And you're always thinking higher up to the ceiling, lifting up out of the pelvic floor. Just moving up and down, getting the blood circulating, warming the muscles up around your hips. Do one more of each. Stretch your arms back up again. Relax your arms down beside, and now the shoulder roll. So you can start small and gentle. And if you feel like anything feels shaky or jumpy or skipping, just make it even smaller and lighter. Nice little circle, feeling the shoulder blades squeeze all the way down the spine, and then you release it to the front. When you've done 4, you stop and pause. So just by sometimes making the movement smaller and lighter, you might get greater feedback and you might get a sense of greater release. And then change direction, down and back, and up and forwards, nice and smooth. Noticing the weight transferring to different feet, to the one foot and then over to the other. Let your neck relax and follow the movement to the rest of the spine. And then when you've finished 4, you pause. You might even want to close your eyes so you get a greater sense of how different you feel, right side foot up, all the way up to the top of your head on the right side compared to the left. And then you go to the other side. Always pausing to notice the difference between each side, especially when we do somatics. Very important when we do somatics. Oh my goodness, guys, I'd love you all to be over my video. How cool would that be? We'd have a holiday, nothing to worry about, food would be catered for, accommodation, have a pool. I know, you can come to me, I can't come to you. And down and back and up. I know what Lisa would want to do. She would want to bring all her dogs with her. I can leave the children and the husband, but I can't leave my dogs. All the way up, so nice and smooth. And this just really helps to release the upper back, the shoulders, the neck, the whole body, and including down below. So you're making the connection to what you're doing, creating in the upper body down to the lower body. So neck stretches, 4 on each side. So lifting up out of the pelvic floor. So again, thinking of the pelvic floor, just that trampoline as you float your neck and head up. Shoulders drip down, turning your head to the right, maybe peering out through the corner of the left eye, and then up and over to the other side, letting your eyes track in the opposite direction to the neck and head. As you turn your head, you lift and float upwards to the ceiling. So you feel the sensation in your lower abdominals. Your shoulders and fingers drip to the floor. You're breathing deeply, getting a sense, making sure that your tongue, of course, stays resting on the roof of the mouth. When you've completed 4, just return back to the front. And this just adds another dimension of the neck, lengthening, another addition to the neck, even though the shoulder rolls create this. Ready for waist away, 100 on each side. You're going to reach the arms up. Don't forget, again, you're lifting up out of the pelvic floor. Soften your knees, your low back relaxes. Reach up through the right arm, and then the left arm. Reach up higher to the right. And as you stretch and reach upwards, you let your tailbone relax down. You breathe in, you make sure your hip doesn't lift. Keep that right heel firmly down. Allow your left hand to slide down the leg. Reaching through the raised arm, your right arm. Reach and rotate so that you feel a definite increase in sensation on the right side. Make sure your hips didn't push forward. Keep your hips over your heel, stretching over as much as you can, and you're pulsing now from the waist. That delicate heartbeat of a pulse. One pulse smoothly rolls through to the next. And of course, never go from here straight up. If you can do that, you have not found your maximum length. There should only feel like there's one way of coming out. So once you're in position, which is, of course, forwards, hinging at the hip. So once you are in position, you want to make sure, watch that left foot of yours, Susie. Yeah, it's lovely. You want to make sure that you feel that strong stretch all the way down over your hips. So bringing your attention right down to your heel. You look like you've lost weight, Elisa. You're looking very lean. Stretch out. And the pulse, there should be no break. They flow into each other. Now bend at the hips, reaching all the way to the front. Lovely, nice, Susie. Yes, as you come out. And then we'll go to the other side. Beautiful, Elisa. Reaching both arms up. So you're going to keep your weight on your heels. You let your low back sink down. Remember, you're counter lifting. You lift up out of the pelvic floor, up through the left arm. And then the right, you lift up higher through the left. bring your right hand down, inhale, and on the exhale, remember you're stretching. You've got to, just by thinking of lifting up out of the pelvic floor, stretching and reaching as you go over to the side. Once you're over, you reach and rotate to deepen the stretch. Remember that we have all these fascial lines, and we have one laterally all the way from the middle finger right down to the outer edge of the heel. And so when you rotate, you want to connect to that. So we're getting much quicker, leaning out and lengthening. Bringing your attention to the left foot, anchor the left heel down deeper as you lift up out of the pelvic floor. Just think of your lower ribs on the left side, just lifting and lengthening and releasing away from your obliques on the left side. Check your lower ribs are tucked back. Make sure your hips are still over heel, that you're not suddenly feeling your hips have gone forwards. One of the very, very common things in class would be as students come over, they would gradually move the hips forwards and throw the shoulders back. And I was very guilty of that too. So it's becoming aware of your habits. Now stretch and lift up even further, right out of the pelvis, Lisa. And the pulse should feel like it naturally flows into each other. It's natural. If you're finding that you have to break with the pause, it means you still haven't found your maximum length. Slowly coming over, 15 seconds front and then to each side for your hamstring. Press the sit bones back, soften your hips, grab on the inside of the legs. Now focus on the shoulder blades stretching away from the center of the back. Aim the elbows down, rotate your thighs out with hold and breathe. Lifting the sit bones up. After 15 seconds, your right arm is going to rest palm upon your low back. Left hand, the back and outside of the right leg, or the left leg, sorry, extend right out through the spine. You get the counter extension first. Then once you've lengthened the muscles along the spine, you rotate your shoulders and rib cage and your neck and head in one smooth movement. Your spine rotates on its axis. Make sure you haven't shortened the waist on the left side, on the right side. Keep the muscles lengthened. And then you return to the front and you'll go to the other side. You pull out long through the spine while the sit bones stretch to the back and up, and then you lengthen and add your rotation. And then you want to check to see whether you do feel a stretch around the, if you're rotating to the left, around the right shoulder blade. After 15 seconds, return to the front, bend your knees, hands on your sides, walk your hands up. Use your weights if you're using weights. Your primary position. Always check your feet, of course. There's always the tendency is, as Susie, we know it's your left foot. That's why I'm always checking your left foot. Yet make sure so look down, because your brain can tell you one thing, but something can be different happening in your body. Outer edges straight, weight on your heels, rotate your thighs. Your low back relaxes, lift up out of the pelvic floor, bend your arms, elbows out to the side. Draw the elbows wider, lift up higher through the crown, rotate your forearms in, and then 15 times, you're going to pulse, rotating from the upper arms. I want you to focus on the movement coming from your upper arms. You're working deep into the upper arms. When you have done 15, pause, do 10 little circles of the elbows backwards, 10 of the circles forward. Keep focusing on lifting up. The more you lift up out of the pelvic floor, imagine the puppet master pulling you up to the ceiling, the more muscle fibers you're going to utilize in your arms and your upper back. 10 in each direction of the circles. Get a sense, and you can close your eyes when you do this, when you know, so you can really connect to the internal sensations, making sure you feel the stretch and the sensation in your upper back and across the chest. You will then, slowly, as you draw the elbows out, start to lower your palms down until you feel a deep stretch in the triceps. And now you're going to press the palms down. Don't let the hands come to the shoulder. You've really got to create there has to be a tensile pull. There is no point doing this if you're not feeling the stretch. Not that there's no point, you're going to get benefits, but remember, we want spectacular. And then you're going to pulse the elbows down and out while you pulse the palms down. So we're doing up to 15 sets of these. And then start adding on the focus of your shoulder blades. Minute, tiny little pulsing down, down, down. You think you want to tone your upper back muscles. So you can, just by bringing your focus and attention to that area, is going to create the results. And then when you're ready, you can relax that. So it's always about 15. Lose your weights. Take the arms straight out to the side. You're aligning yourself, checkpoints in place. Rotate the thighs outwards. Reach the arms out from the center of the back. Reach and rotate the arms in. Hold and do 5 rotational pulses. The thumbs pulse up and forwards 5 times. And then gradually you can rotate, bringing the arms back, keeping your arms lifted up. Once the arms are back, I always say to slide the shoulder blades to the hips, keep them down there because they will have shifted as you move the arms back, and then drag the arms up even higher and then pulsing in. And you can do some pulsing upwards if you like, but we are going to do kneeling tricep push-ups. Reach the fingers to the back, scan your body, see if you're noticing how your hands are coming up higher. Nice, make sure your chin relaxes down, lengthen up from behind the ears, tongue resting on the roof of the mouth, rib cage relaxes, don't forget to breathe. Wonderful. Nice, Susie. Yes, I love that. When I see you correcting yourself, it's like, notice if your hips go forward. And now just relax the shoulders, relax your arms. Bring them to the front. We're going to go to the floor. We're doing 5 upper back release, followed by 8 tricep push-ups. So we're mobilizing the rib cage with the upper back release and helping to relax the muscles between the blades. Knees right under the hips. Your feet are relaxed. Your hands are splayed out to the side. Rotate your arms so the elbows point straight back and let your neck and head just relax down. Slowly lower your chest. The shoulder blades will contract into the spine, and you slowly sink your chest upwards, lifting up, and allow your shoulder blades to stretch away from the back, away from the spine. And just repeat that smoothly, just 5 times, just loosening up the muscles around and in between the ribs, those little intercostal muscles. When you have completed that, you're going to bring your head back in alignment with the spine. Keep your arms rotated. Make sure your knees are not close towards your hands. You want to be sort of torso aligned, checkpoints in place. Very slowly, bending your arms and thinking of the elbows moving in towards each other. Feel it in the triceps, and then slowly keeping the shoulder blades firmly in place, straighten your arms up. And then you will repeat that 8 times, focusing on your triceps. Make sure you're not curling your pelvis. Do not let your hips move. Lovely, nice, very nice, Susie. Yes, you too, Elise. Make sure the elbows are not going out to the side. Keep them pointing straight back. You might want to think of allowing the elbows to move into your spine. Just check that you're not arching your neck there, Elise, so just watch that. Elbows in towards each other as you bend. Don't let them move out to the side. But just by thinking of the elbows moving in is going to give you a greater sense of your triceps. Let your feet completely relax on the floor. You don't need to tuck your toes under. That's it, Susie. Yeah. There you go. Lovely. That's it. Nice. Slowly. Make sure your elbows are not going out to the side. Do not let them bulldog out. They're pointing straight back to your thighs. Best way to think of this is the elbows drawing in towards each other as you bend your arms. Triceps. You will then sit back on your heels, bending your right hand. See if it's getting easier for you to place your hand on your back by keeping the neck lengthened back, not jutting forwards. Hold the stretch. Just hold for 5 seconds and then go to the other side. So all these things you want to notice, because in the beginning you might find you have to jut your head forwards and you can't, your rib cage will want to sort of shift. But as muscles and tension releases and everything starts to change, it should be easier for you. Ready for abs with your block. So we're really going to get into the focus of using your feet. Remember, your feet are pelvis width to steer your pelvis. And including when we're gonna roll down, just by using your feet, pressing the feet away can really help, and also keep your attention on the abdominals melting inwards. So first, this is how you take your breather. Remember, stretch those shoulder blades out. Press the feet away to roll back behind your sit bones, and then pull the heels in to roll in front of your sit bones. So just do that a couple of times, just to get a sense of your feet steering your pelvis. You push away, it's like this resting wall, and you're resting, your feet are resting against the wall, and you're pressing forward. And then you're going to press the feet away, the heels away, rolling behind your sit bones, and then you're going to sink your abdominals in and tip your pelvis, curl your pelvis up further. Sink your abdominals into the spine, release your arms, and then 10 times waving to the front. Breathe in, arms float up, breathe out, down. And I want you to think of lifting up out of the pelvic floor as you raise the arms up. I also want you to think of sliding the shoulder blades down as you raise the arms up. I also want you to think of sinking your abdominals in the front and also to the side. Think of what you want this to do. Flatten your abdominals and tone. Now take a breather when you're finished. Then you're going to rotate. As you rotate, you've got to check that you don't let the abdominals stretch away from the center. You are keeping your waist and your obliques inward and your abs melting in. Rotating to the right, return to the front, rotate to the left. Reaching the arms from the center of the back, up to 10 times on each side. You can use a non-waving hand to rest on your knee. And as you rotate to the left, notice the right arm will reach to the front. Extend the arm out. Make sure that you're not pulling the shoulder blade into the spine. Sweep your hand to the side. Sweep it to the side, extending from the center of that's it, Susie, center of the back. Sink your abdominals in as you rotate. Pause, hold it. Return to the front. Pause, rotate to the other side. The more attention you bring into your body and how you perform this, remember your rib cage must rotate. When you finish, you return to the front. If you want more, you can bring your heels in closer. Pelvis tips upwards or curls up. Your abdominals melt down. Another 10 waves to the front. Breathe in, the arms float up. Pause, sink the arms down. Draw energy up with the hands. Use the power of your imagination. With these exercises, that's what you can utilize the most. Bring the arms up, bring them right up to your brows, up, 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 up. There, Lisa, yes. Without letting your shoulder blades lift. Now, when you take a pause when you're finished and holding onto your knees, the front of the knees or behind the knees. So when you've done 10, you pause. Shoulder blades broad. Sink your abdominals in, draw the navel into the spine, arms parallel. Now 15 times you're going to round in, traditional pulse. You're rounding inwards. Round your rib cage, shoulders, neck and head over your waistline, pulsing your forehead down to your pubic bone. Add the pelvic floor. Just gently squeeze the muscles between the sit bones. Your hips are relaxed. You will, of course, get a sense of your inner thighs and your thighs. Round, round. Your palms should be pulsing down, moving forward slightly, but more down, 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 pressing the palms down for that rounding in. Now, when you have done 15, you're going to roll down. Take a breather. Remember, of course, if you feel this in your back, you must come down one elbow at a time. Steering with your pelvis. I want you to press the feet away to curl the pelvis up. Hold there, Elisa. Push the feet away, curling the pelvis up further. Hold. Beautiful. Keep pressing the feet away, curl and hold. Curling and hold. Bring the abs in. You're going, Elisa. That's it. Hold. You can do it. Keep pressing the feet away. That's going to help. And lowering all the way down into the floor. So remember, with abs, just as a reminder, lose your block. You must not let your abs pop upwards. Left foot down, right leg up, 75, single leg raise, stretching up through the heel, rotate the leg outwards. Don't forget that you've got that counter length between the sit bones and the heel. Stretch back out through your spine, round your neck, head and shoulders up and in, grab on the back of the leg. Now lengthen the muscles along the spine. You know, you can shimmy and open up the disc. Shoulder blades broad, round your rib cage in further. Release your left arm with the right leg up, release the left. intensifying by walking out the left leg. You slide it out and then you lengthen the leg out from your obliques on the left side until the foot lifts. You no need to pull it right up to the ceiling. The whole point is to tone the center of the body. So by lengthening out, you can take a breather as much as you like. When you take a breather, you let your heel rest on the floor, rounding in further, left arm, right arm, relax your upper back. You can take your right hand over to the left, pulsing your head towards the right. Add the variations. Woohoo, Lisa. Yes, staying in the center of your pelvis. Add the pelvic floor muscles. Lengthen up through the spine even further. Your shoulders relax down. You're breathing. You're able to breathe. You take breathers. You're in control. Nice, Susie. Keep that rounding in. Check that your palms are pulsing down, down, down. That's it. Yes, nice. Slowly relax your abdominals to lower yourself to the floor. Go directly to the other leg. Create that strong counter extension between the sit bone and heel. Rotate the legs outwards. Stretch back, round in, and then stretch the shoulder blades out. Round your rib cage in. Sink your abdominals down. The right arm releases. The left arm releases. If you're intensifying, immediately walk out the right leg. Lengthen it to lift. Feel the length coming from now the right side of your waist and your obliques. And for more, if you want more, you align your left pelvic bone with the right, so the leg lowers. Arms can go over towards the right, your head pulses to the left. At the pelvic floor while you're pulsing so that you notice the difference. Your rib cage rounds in. Round your rib cage, shoulders, neck, and head as a unit. That's it, Susie. Nice. Take breathers. Taut muscles along the spine. That's it. Now round your rib cage in even further. You're doing it. That's wonderful. Sink your chest down. Your chest melts inwards. You can do some with the arms parallel. You're rounding in even further. Bring your attention to your low back and relax your low back. And then relax your abdominals. Bring the legs in, hug them in. Double leg raise. We're also going, so you're going to do 75, but you're going to be doing 20 pelvic floor pulses on each leg. I will, of course, guide you through that. Bring the knees in, stretch the legs upwards. Make sure you haven't got the feet tucked in towards each other or pressing in. While the sit bones lengthen down, the heels up, rotate your legs outwards, stretch back out of the pelvis, rounding in. Lengthen the muscles from each time you do this, you should find you can round in further. Elbows stretch to the ceiling. Your upper back is broad. You release one arm, you release the other arm. So you're going to work up to 75. Woo, and lowering the legs, Lisa. Yes. Round inwards. Now, when you're ready, you will focus on your right leg. Create extra length between the sit bone and heel. Cross it in front of the left leg. Don't hug the legs together. Still keep them separated. Now you're going to pulse the right sit bone in. And then you can add the rounding in simultaneously, up to 20. And then when you've finished, bring the legs side by side. I recommend taking a breather so you can round in further. You will then guide the left leg in front. Lengthening the leg that's in front, you create extra length. Sit bone presses down, the heel lengthens up. And then you pulse the sit bone in as you simultaneously round inward. So you're toning your pelvic floor, your lower abs, and the upper abs. Go, Susie, yes. And you might want to start with the pelvic floor pulse and then add, great power up, Elisa. Elisa, notice how you fell backwards. Now you've got to round in more. This is why I always say release one arm and then the other. Beautiful. Make sure you're rounding in the rib cage, shoulders, neck, and head as a unit. When you're ready, you can slowly relax down. Well done, guys. Hug your knees in. Bring the left foot down, stretch the right leg out and the right arm back. And as you reach leisurely, remember, make it pleasurable. You reach through the heel and the arm, allowing your spine to curve over towards the left. Let your head and neck follow the movement. Make sure you're not arching. And then you relax the arms, bring the arms down. So each time you do this, you want to really get a sense of, are you feeling it more in the periphery, your shoulders? Then go to the other side. So as you reach back, And as the muscles release in the center, you're going to get greater feedback and sensation through the upper arm, through the rib cage and the pecs, all the way through as you lengthen out. Relax down, roll over, head to the bar. For legs, we're going to, with your block, I'm recommending using the block. So we are going to do pelvic rotation, standing, working down low, but bring yourself up if it gets too much for you. Place the block between your knees, come right up on your toes. You can face the bar, of course, or stand perpendicular to your bar. Roll in front of your knees, squeeze the muscles between the sit bones, lower your hips down. Take your hip to the right and from the base to the behind, curl up. And of course you can do a ballet arm upwards. The sideways is called push the arm up. Isn't that right, Elisa? And you curl. Make sure you're not moving your rib cage and you're not drawing circles with your knees. This is just the pelvis. Scoop up from the base to the behind. Breathe deeply. Notice when you curl, your abdominals melt inward. Doing 8 on each side. You can, of course, take a breather and pause and come up before you go down, taking it to the left and curling to the front. Scooping up from the base. The higher your heels are up, the more intense. Maybe add the pelvic floor just to get a greater sense of the intensity. So you've got to be mindful that you're not moving your rib cage, you're not moving your knees. And of course, as the muscles release in the center of the body, you're going to get greater sensation of the thighs and you're going to get greater mobility of your pelvis. Then take a breather, keep the block. 2 sets of pelvic weight leg strengtheners. Checkpoints in place, lower your hips down. As you lengthen the tailbone and the low back down, your spine lifts upwards. Curl up from the base of the behind or think out of the pelvic floor. Add 3 to 5 pelvic floor pulses, muscles between the sit bones. You will uncurl, lower down a little bit further, scooping up from the base of the behind. Breathe deeply. Your thighs might be screaming out to you right now. So use your breath and your breathing to keep you right at your peak. 3 levels down, 2 levels up, adding pelvic floor to intensify. And just do 1 more set, so just 2 sets. And of course, stay lifted right up. Yes, Susie, nice. Make it full. Don't, always stay connected to your body. And remember, we never move through pain. And check when you lower down that you're not collapsing into your pelvis. Always think up, think tall, lifting up out of the pelvic floor. Shake the legs out, then you're going to do pliés. So you're going to do 5, going down as low as you can, using the pelvic floor to lift you up. As the hips low, remember checkpoints in place, no curling. Breathe deeply. You can work down really low. You don't have to come up to straight legs, especially if you're getting stronger. Really challenge those thighs. And when you've done 5, move the block off, wide format, and you're going to do another 5 more. Knees over the ankles, keeping the joint of the big toe down. Let your sit bones widen as you lower your hips and engage the pelvic floor to lift you up. And again, arms to the side, to the front, or lift it up. Or you can hold on to your prop. There you go. Keeping the heels down. Use the pelvic floor. Release your hips down, softening your hips, softening your hip flexors. As you lower, you stretch up and to intensify, hold. And then you can pulse your thighs up and down. And then slowly come up, bending each leg. Walk your feet together. And we're doing leg angle lift. Of course, you can place your foot on the dome for balance, for extra hip strength, or for balance. You can stand on the block rather, or on the dome. So we're going to do 30 pelvic floor pulses to the front. Then we're going to lift the leg up. Do 8 pulsing the thigh upwards or rotational pulse, and then 5 micro bend stretches. Pressing down through the right heel, the left heel, slide the right leg forward out of the hip. Rotate the leg, lengthen through the leg to lift. Now you can cross it slightly over for inner thighs. And then you're going to pulse rotational again, same as you did with the abs. You're pulsing the sit bone in as you rotate. Check that you're not throwing shoulders back, you're still over the hips and your spine is straight. When you have done 30, you work up to 30, lower the foot, take it slightly out to the side, make sure the standing knee is soft, lift the leg as high as you can without hiking up your hip, keep the leg rotated. You can do 8 rotational pulses or pulse your thigh up and down 8 times, and then do 5 micro bend stretches. Remember, you are always keeping the counter extensions in place. You are never letting the sit bone or the heel collapse in towards each other. It's the bend and stretch to stretch the leg out. When you've completed that, you're going to take the leg out to the side. So you lower your foot down, glide the foot out, standing knee soft, rotate the leg. You slide the hip in, allow your spine to curve over towards the right, and then you lift up out of the pelvic floor and extend through the heel until the foot lifts. So it's a lengthening, an extension to lift, as opposed to lifting up the hip. That's not easy to, so you're connecting with your core muscles. Make sure your pelvis is forward. That's it, Susie. Maybe you can bring the leg back a bit, so it's pulsing. And you can, of course, pulse the leg up and down, tapping the foot on the floor. Make sure your foot isn't turned up to the ceiling, because if you've turned your foot, top of the foot up, the chances are your pelvis would have hit backwards. Now, when you have done that, you're going to glide the foot back behind you and allow your spine now to become straight. Foot back, now we're into the hamstrings and lifting the buttocks. Standing knee soft, bend it if you need to. Checkpoints must be in place. Lower ribs, pelvic bone and pubic bone. Rotate the leg, lengthen the leg, draw the heel up to the sit bone to activate the hamstrings, but be mindful of this. Make sure you don't pull the hip up. Let the muscles lengthen over your waist and your hips. And then you're going to pulse, and you can pulse the knee forwards and back. You can do some rotational pulses, noticing as you rotate the knee out and up, or the upper leg, you'll feel the sit bone pulsing in. And then you can bring more attention to the pelvic floor, using the pelvic floor to lift. And let the muscles just release over your hips and over your waist. And then when you finish that, you're going to bring the heel in, keeping the left leg straight, bend the right leg, hands on your thighs, lifting the sit bones up, just to briefly release the muscles of your hip, and then we'll go to the other side. So pressing down through the right leg, extend the left leg forwards. And when you do this, you want to be mindful that you don't throw your shoulders back. Lengthen out, chest relaxes down, rotate the leg. You're lengthening through the heel and up through the crown of the head till the foot lifts. You make sure you feel it in the inner thighs and the quads. You can cross the legs slightly over. So you can adjust, because the things that are in stone are the counter extensions and the checkpoints. Everything else is for you to get into the best position to feel the muscles. So this is for the inner thighs and the quads. You rotate the leg and focus on lengthening as you rotate. So the sit bone pulses in, you're extending through the heel and the sit bone back as you drive the pulse through the leg. And then you'll bring the foot down, bring it a little bit higher, check to make sure your weight's on your heels. So easy to come forward, you'll feel the toes clamping, bring the hips back, and then you can pulse the thigh up and down 8 times or rotate the leg. You're going to be mindful that you're not hiking up your hip. There's no goal to bring the leg up high. You bring it a little bit higher, but without hiking up your hip on the left side. And then the 5 micro bend stretches. You might feel inclined to bend and straighten both legs, and that's absolutely fine too. And then the leg to the side, standing knee soft, weight on the hips. Externally rotate the leg. Remember, the rotation is from the top of the leg, the greater trochanter. You are not turning the hip back. And the sign that you are is your foot will be turned up to the ceiling. You just let the heel roll backwards and you lengthen through the leg to lift. Now you're into the outer thigh and the buttocks. Lengthen out through your leg. Relax the muscles around your hips and your waist. Great isolation there, Susie. Yes, your knee rotates out and up. You got to watch that you're not shortening the muscles. Even though your muscles, the rib cage, are closed on the left side, you're still lengthening. It's that drawing that energy through the heel and through the crown. Your ribs, of course, will expand as you get, more working on balance. We do want to work on the balance also. And then you will bring the foot down, and then you'll slide and glide the foot back behind you. Your spine will be straight, your checkpoints in place. Rotate the leg, lengthen to lift, and then pulse. Now you want to focus on the back of the leg and the buttocks lifting. You have to watch that your checkpoints don't shift. You don't want your torso to start coming forwards. The pubic bone will go behind the pelvic bones. You don't need to tuck the pelvis under. It's better to think of aligning your bones, because then you really are working and training the whole body. When you have completed up to 30, you will gently glide the heel in, bend the leg, lift the sit bones up, your spine is straight. Feel the length all the way up through the back of that right leg, releasing the hip, and then head back to the floor. So if you're up for it today, of course, you can rest on your prop for deeper intensity. Remember, don't forget, use the props if you need to. The leg and bent in front of you, your knee out to the side. First, we'll stretch the front thigh. With your upper back and shoulders relaxed, gently roll the knee down, clasp the ankle, bring your left hand out under the shoulder, lift your hips up and rotate. You lift the hip up and then you relax your hip down. So you're lifting your whole torso up off the floor, your pelvis and your upper body, and then you relax it down. Then you hold, feel and sense the stretch in your front thighs and hip flexors, and then you allow the muscles in the center of the body, all those muscles between your rib cage and your pelvis, to lengthen, soften and relax. Return to the front. You're going to do 30 pulses to the front, and then you're going to rotate and do 30 more, pausing in between. So allowing the left hip to shift backwards, roll the knee down, lengthen through the knee until the knee lifts. Again, you want to make sure you're not lifting up your hip. Extend the leg out. Think of what you want this to do. You want to pull in your hips. And you can pulse the knee forwards and backwards. Relax the resting side, your hips, your buttocks, your knee, your foot, your ankle. And you smoothly pulse, rotate the leg outwards. Feel the pelvis lengthening away from the rib cage, so you feel that delicious, yummy feeling, the muscles lengthening over your hips and your waist. So I'm just timing this for 35 seconds. Now let the knee rest, but keep the lower leg lifted. Bring your right hand around, lift your hips up, shift the left side of the hip and the pelvis over towards the left, lengthen through the knee until the knee lifts, and continue pulsing. Now relax the leg that you're resting on. Wonderful. And of course, you can keep the count. If you find yourself collapsing forwards in your hands, you can press the heel of the hands away to steer your torso back. That will help secure the counter extensions. Relax your hips and relax your waist. Relax your upper back. Relax your neck. Transition there into straight leg. So slowly straighten the leg out. Rotate the leg outwards. And now do some pelvic floor pulsing, or you can pulse the leg up and down without letting your hip move. Don't use your waist and your back. Feeling the outer thigh and your buttocks. Awesome. Focus on the legs stretching and lengthening out from the center of your body. It just takes focus. You're using your imagination and the focus and the intention to pull and create that tensile pull, that tautness. When you have finished that, you're doing 30 of those, you're going to rest on your side, and we're going to add the pelvic floor now. Staying on the same side, relax your left hand down, elbow under shoulder. Do not allow the shoulder to sink out to the side. The spine is straight. Bring your top hip forwards, lengthen up through the crown, reach the arm up, chin turns down to look at the left elbow, and then squeeze the top sit bone down, lift the bottom foot up, the top foot up. You can squeeze the lower sit bone up to lift the bottom foot, and then you're going to pulse the pelvic floor, muscles between the sit bones. Now relax down your lower knee. So the left knee relaxes into the floor. Check that your pelvic bones are aligned. Make sure your rib cage should not have expanded open on the underside, on your left side. So if it's expanded and found open on the left, it means they would have closed on the right, top side, and your waist would have sagged in. So you're keeping everything lengthened. And when you've done 30, you can take a breather and then stretch the leg out in front. And then you lift the leg, rotate it, check your alignment, make sure that you still have the pelvic bones aligned. You do not want to curl with this exercise. No curl. Pulse the pelvic floor. And again, as you pulse, you can pulse the heel down. You're pulsing and extending through the legs simultaneously to intensify. When you've completed that, we'll top up with some inner thighs. You're just going to do 25 pelvic floor pulses. Roll the lower leg down, again by lifting your hip up and then shifting the pelvis backwards, the hip back. The lower leg will roll down further, so it'll be the left leg and left pelvis. Reaching up and over, extend through the leg to lift. And now you're going to pulse the lower sit bone up as you simultaneously rotate the leg. See if you can lift the leg a little bit higher without losing alignment, without collapsing. Focus on the muscles of the inner thighs, extending and lengthening. And then when you have completed that, you relax down onto the other side, looking amazing. Amazing, guys. So first, stretching the front thigh. And we're focusing because the more we soften the center, the easier it is going to be and the more effective the pulse is going to be into the lower leg. Roll the knee down, find the ankle. So that's why we lift, we rotate, and we make sure we feel the stretch in your front thigh and over the hip flexor. And then we bring our attention to the muscles, the waist part of your lower back and the abdominals, and let all those muscles release. So you inhale, and as you exhale, allow the rib cage and pelvis just to softly drift away from each other. Come back to the front. So remember 30, and then we'll rotate for 30. Roll the knee down, relax the leg in front, relax the hip. The further the knee is over to the side, the more intense. You extend and lift. And then you immediately bring your attention to the resting side. Now you're going to pulse. Soften the muscles over your waist. Remember, the whole point of this as well is, with all the addition and the somatics, is that you want voluntary control over your muscles. So this is why you want to feel the muscles will tighten, and then you bring your attention and then let those muscles relax. You smoothly pulsing the knee back to lift. Remember, you're intentional. Bring the knee down, left hand down, lift your hip up to rotate. That frees your pelvis up. Bring your hips right up off the floor. And then you relax your hip down and then lengthen back and then lift in another 30. Pressing the heel of the hands away, just steer like we did with abs, just steer your torso and to secure the counter extension. Now allow the muscles, think of them, bring your attention to the left side of your hips and waist, and let the hip and the hip and the pelvis shift back. And then you should feel a deeper sensation in the center. The muscles are lengthening, it should be taut, but not contracted. And then when you finish that, straighten the leg out. So you'll be transitioning now to straight leg. 30 pulses, draw the energy strongly through the heel, pull out long. Feel, if you want to pull your hips in and eliminate the tissue at the top of the pelvis, you just think of lengthening out from that point. All you have to do is think it. And then immediately you'll get a deeper sensation. Your sensory motor system or your sensory system will start to get more sense of the muscles lengthening. Remember, you can pull in just one session. Your clothes will feel baggy after a few hours, or when you wake up in the morning if you're heading off to bed. And then bent leg, straight leg, scissors, forearm resting, knees in front, feet slightly in forward of the knees. Bring the top hip forward. So remember, you want to keep the pelvic bones vertically aligned. Reach the left arm up without lifting up the rib cage. You just reach the arm up, you've outwardly rotate it, chin down, and then you squeeze the sit bones. You can squeeze them both simultaneously, or first squeeze the top sit bone down to bring the bottom foot up, the top foot up, and then the lower sit bone up to lift the bottom. You make sure you haven't curled your pelvis, you scan to make sure you're in alignment, and then you pulse and you sculpt. Muscles between your sit bones, pulsing deeper and deeper. And see if you can keep the arms straight. If you have to bend the arm, keep the counter extension between the shoulder blade and the elbow so you feel the stretch in your underarm. You're not just letting that arm hang out. But of course, some of you might need to bend the arm, but still keep the tension between the shoulder blade and the elbow. Tension meaning tensile pull. And then you will straighten the leg out. You can, of course, take a breather. Straighten the leg. Press the sit bone back. Soften your hips. Lift the leg. Now you're into the outer thigh and the pelvic floor and the buttocks. Driving that pulse simultaneously through the heel and back through the sit bones. Again, using your imagination to intensify and enhance. When you have done 30 of those, relax your leg down. Please make sure you're not curling your tailbone up. No curl, no curl. This is only for the lower part. You should feel nothing in the upper part of the behind. Doesn't mean that's not toning those muscles, but you don't want to feel the pulse working there. Now roll the lower leg down, lift your hips, roll the leg like a rolling pin. So the top of the foot now is resting on the floor, the heel is up. You reach up and over, extend through the leg to lift it a bit higher, and then pulse. So once again, as your tissue and everything releases as you progress, and I can see the difference with you guys, as everything lengthens out, it's going to be easier for you to connect to the periphery. It has to start though releasing in the center, because that is the part of the body that responds to stress. Good and bad. 30 pulses, and then when you're finished, you're going to sit with your right leg crossed in front for the hip stretch. And it's always nice to find your sit bone, walk the sit bone out to the side and slightly back, and then go to the other side. The right leg is in front. Your spine has to be straight. You hinge forward from the hips, softening your hips. Now lengthen the muscles along the spine. Lengthen up to the back of the neck. Make sure your chin isn't lifted up. Shoulder blades pressed down and wide. And then once you feel the stretch in your right hip, you will lift up out of the pelvic floor and rotate. And then again, and what you can do is to intensify and get the blood flowing to your organs and all the viscera, you can press and use your hands to steer your rib cage, shoulders, neck and head further around to the right to deepen the sensation, and then sink your left sit bone into the floor. And then you return to the front. So you're using your hands, or the abs, your feet, to steer and rotate. If you need more information on how to do that, if you're not feeling it, don't forget, always ask me after the class or message me. Lifting up out of the pelvis. Remember, your sit bones sink deep to the floor, but also back as you hinge forwards. Soften your hips. Lengthen the muscles along the spine. You make sure you're evenly lengthened on both sides. You hold that for a few seconds just to make sure you feel the hip. And then you'll lift up out of the pelvic floor and rotate. And then you bring your hands down, shoulder blades broad. Notice how that feels. And then using your hands, so your left hand will press into the center, pushing in gently without moving, to twist your rib cage around that bit further. Make sure you haven't shortened the muscles. And that's going to really help lengthen your torso. Shake your rib cage, your chin down. Come back to the front. You can keep the right leg in front and stretch the left leg out. Stretch out both legs, walking your sit bones out and back, feeling the inner thigh stretch. And you want to make sure that your spine is straight. We move from a straight spine to a lateral spine. Reach the arms up, softly hinging forwards as you keep your sit bones pressing down. So you bring the focus into the left sit bone, deepening to the floor as you lift up, rotate to the right. And now allow your spine to curve in as you come over to the side, And you allow your hand to relax on the floor, reaching up and over with your right arm. Remember, you're reaching from the center of your body. You reach up and then you reach and rotate. Remember, that is one of the first things we lose as we age, the ability to reach our arms upwards. And we always got to keep in mind the good stuff is always on the top shelf. And you reach, lengthen from behind the ears, release down your right sit bone. Feel the stretch. Make sure your lower ribs are tucked back into the spine. Feel the muscles between your rib cage. Get a sense of your muscles, the intercostals. You want to fire those up, getting the blood flowing. And then as you come out, you keep the right sit bone down. It's a release forwards, still keeping the muscles lengthened. Sweep your hands to the front. Walk your hands up. Go to the other side. Hinging forward. You lift up out of the pelvic floor, rising upwards as you rotate. And then you reach up, lift up out of the pelvic floor as you allow your spine to curve in. So there's less energy, no straining, no forcing. It wants to feel beautiful. Reaching up through the left arm, reach and rotate, keeping your pubic bone down, lengthen the neck, scanning your body, bring your attention to the left sit bone, deepen it into the floor, and see if you notice when you do that, the different sensation you get over your hips and your waist. Lengthening, ribs lift up. Check your shoulder blades are broad, relaxed between the blades. Slowly as you come out, you reach forwards without force, so you feel the stretch deepen over your waist. Sweep your hand to the front, walk your hands up, pelvic scoops, 8, adding pelvic floor, so you're up to kneeling. So the way to heighten the pelvic, the scoops is that you're keeping your muscles lengthened. And so as you bend, you lengthen your sit bones and your crown away from each other so the muscles along the spine are extended out. Hinging at the hips, pressing the sit bones back, curling up, relax your shoulders, relax your abdominals and scoop up just using your thighs. So you must relax every other muscle in the body. Wonderful. You make sure your neck and head doesn't shift out of alignment. Softening your hips, scooping up, releasing. You bend forwards by not moving forwards, you just soften your hip flexors. Your sit bones drip back to your heels. You curl your pelvis. And then you use just the thighs. You bring all your attention to your thighs and the inner thighs. You must have to actively relax your abdominals, your neck, your shoulders, and your back. And if you want to intensify, you will hold on 8 and you'll add pelvic floor muscles between the sit bones, pulsing the sit bones up or in towards each other, and then scoop all the way back up. Bring your left hand down, wrist under shoulder, slide the left leg back, the right leg, sorry. Okay, if you're doing the left hand, left leg stretches out, shoulder blades broad. Gently, if you're able to, you draw the heel in, clasp the ankle, lengthen through your crown, and then you add your rotation. You make sure that when you rotate, you are not shortening the waist, so you're not pulling the rib cage in. There's no curve of the spine. You hold and breathe, and you hold that for 25 seconds. You will then relax the leg down. Go to the other side. Lovely. So you'll then stretch out the other leg. Remember, have the wrist under the shoulder for weight bearing. Everything has a reason. You lengthen back through the leg. You draw the heel in, clasp the ankle, extend long through the crown. And then you make sure you're not shortening your waist on the side. It might have shortened as you went to hold the ankle. Try not to pull the toes in or the feet. Gently walk your fingers up your ankle or your shin, and then you'll add your rotation. You make sure both sides of the waist are lengthened, your checkpoints in place. Release the center of the body. 25 seconds, head to the floor with your block, your dome if you have them, and your strap ready for the hamstring stretch. Guys, I hope you're good for time. Are you okay for time, Elisa? Great. Oh, fantastic. Ball of the foot up. Oh, sorry. Your head rests on the block. Take a deep breath in. and allow your lower ribs to melt into the floor. Your strap is wrapped around the ball of the right foot. Extend the left leg out. So holding this for 50 seconds. Arms nice and straight. So you're lengthening your sit bones down and the heel upwards. Externally rotate the leg. Check you're resting in the center of the pelvic compass. Please make sure that you haven't tipped over to the side. Also make sure you have the right leg up. So make sure that you're not hiking your hip up. There is no goal on bringing the leg down towards your nose. The goal is to keep your pelvic bones, your ASIS, horizontally aligned, your tailbone resting on the floor. Now you can add some rotational pulses, pulsing the heel into the center. Relax your shoulders and your neck. While you pulse, the heel pulses in, you're focusing on extending up through the heel and down through the sit bone. You hold and you breathe, and then when you finish that, you can do some micro bend stretches. You bend the leg, still keeping the sit bone down. You're not bending and collapsing in. Feel the stretch in the back of the legs. And then bring the other leg up. So 50 seconds, that was a bit longer than 50 seconds. That was actually close to, it was 59 seconds. So of course, change sides when you need to. Press the heel upwards, lengthening the muscles in the back of the leg. Gently draw the leg in towards you. You lengthen out the right leg. It's that leg, you're feeling it's getting flasher. So when you release in the center of the body, the periphery is going to extend out more. You're going to become younger, longer, leaner. And then you can add some rotational pulses, and you're not just pulsing the heel in, you're using your imagination to focus on lengthening through the sit bones and the heel as you pulse. And then you can do 5 micro bend stretches, stretching the tissue in the back of the legs. Beautiful for smoothing out the skin. You want to make sure you keep those counter extensions, the sit bones down and the heel up as you bend and as you straighten. You make sure your rib cage is relaxed, your shoulders relaxed, your facial muscles relaxed. You continue to scan your body, making sure every part is relaxed. We have to make this even on each side, so I'm just going to add a few more seconds. And now, bend the leg and move everything off to the side. Let your legs just stretch out, just for a sense. Brief soma scan, your palms turn up. Notice how you feel in your body. Your breath should be fuller as the muscles release in the front. You should feel a deeper breath calming you down. And then you'll bend the legs. Bring your feet up pelvis width, reach the arms out to the side. So somatics now, bringing your attention to all different parts of the body. Rolling your right arm up and allow your head to turn to the right. The little finger points up, the shoulder relaxes down. Your attention into the left arm as you gently roll that left arm down, push until you feel the shoulder blade shift and the shoulder lift up. Bring your right foot up, the leg is bent, stretch the left leg out. Now bring your attention to the right shoulder and the upper back, and you sink and melt that down to pick your right pelvis and leg up. Feel and sense the muscles contracting. So then full voluntary control, you soften those muscles to allow your pelvis and leg to cross over to the left. Feel the muscles releasing. No forcing, no straining, never move through pain. If anything creates pain, use your imagination. And then you can pick up your shoulders and upper back and you gently slide them over towards the left, noticing how your head turns a little bit more to the right. So this is a beautiful trunk rotation. You are like a wash rag. Relax your left shoulder. Notice how the shoulder is slightly higher. Relax down the right shoulder. Relax your neck and head. You're holding this for up to 50 seconds. Let the muscles release in the center. This is the quickest way to release. You're lengthening the muscles on the diagonal, front and back, the lateral, and also the front and the back. To come out, you gently bring the knee up to the elbow, the left arm. You slowly keep the knee in as you roll all the way back. Place your foot down. Come back to the center of your pelvis. Now you're going to roll the arms in opposite direction. So you very smoothly and simultaneously roll the arms. The left arm rolls up, the shoulder relaxes. The right arm rolls down, the shoulder lifts. Lift up the left foot. Leg is bent, knee over hip. Slide out the right leg. Relaxing down the left shoulder and upper back to pick the pelvis and leg up. And then you relax those muscles. So you want full voluntary control. So you're not moving the pelvis over, and be holding this for up to 50 seconds. You're not moving the pelvis over. You sense the muscles that had to contract to pick your pelvis and leg up. And then, when the cortex, the front part of the brain, senses that, you then have full control and you can let those muscles relax and allow your pelvis and leg to fold over to the side. You then can pick up your shoulders and upper back and gently, everything done gently and mindfully. Never lose the connection with your body. Stay connected to your body the entire time. Your pelvis crosses over. And if you want to add on to this, you can slide the right leg further to the left, shifting the pelvis over. And you hold and you breathe and you melt and you relax and you let go and you allow yourself to let go. To come out, bring your knee up towards your right arm. You slowly, mindfully bring the leg back. And if it feels lovely and nice for you and you feel inclined to do it, then both legs hug the knees in, do a circle one direction, reverse the circle, bring your feet down, slide the legs out, let your arms relax beside you. Take a deep breath, breathe down until your breath reaches your pelvic floor without bearing down, and then exhale and relax into the floor. And then slowly you will bend your legs one at a time, slide them up, very slowly roll over onto your hands and knees, bringing your wrists under the shoulders, knees under your hips. We're going to make sure the pelvis is completely untucked. Take your feet out to the side, tuck your toes under, outer edges of the feet straight. Now you make sure your sit bones are back and you slowly shift your sit bones back towards your heel. And you breathe. Now you're going to breathe in, touch the pelvic floor with your breath, and then gently bear down, allowing your sit bones to widen and the sacrum and the pubic bone to lengthen away from each other. And you watch that your heels do not fall in towards each other. And then you are fantastic, terrific, feeling awesome, 10 years younger, ready to move through the rest of your day. And of course, if you're going to get up in the morning, you're going to bed, you will feel tight, taut, and terrific. Well done, guys. I'll just stop the recording so I can chat.